welcome to the Hustle Skirt Podcast, the show that brings you economic equity for everyone, every day, with your host, Debra Gould. Yes, I am Debra Washington Gould, President and CEO of Debra Gould and Associates, Inc., DGAI. It's a New Orleans-based management consulting and performance management business founded in 1996. Hey, y'all, celebrated 27 years in the professional service industries. Check out my website, www.gouldassociates.com, to learn more about my services in professional service offerings in management consulting, training, facilitating, executive coaching, and business motivational keynote speaking. So that's the business side, the bread and butter of Debra Gould and Associates, Inc. But for right now, as you can see, I have the pleasure of interviewing today on the Hustle Skirt Podcast, Dr. Robert Douglas. But before I introduce you to this gentleman, let me say, for those who are just joining us for the first time, and you have the privilege to hear Dr. Douglas today, something about Hustle Skirt Podcast. The mission of the Hustle Skirt Podcast is to promote, communicate, and amplify the influence of men and women entrepreneurs, for-profit businesses. You heard me right, for-profit. On occasion, I may slip in an interview, a guest interview with a C-suite or a higher executive with a corporation, government, nonprofit organization. But today, it is all about for-profit, and my guest today, Dr. Robert Douglas. He's going to share some contact information in a minute after I introduce him. But let me say a little bit more about the Hustle Skirt, the meaning, so we don't get it twisted. You see, when I thought of the name, and I have to be honest, to give my son Joseph the credit for creating this name. You say, Mother, not a day go by when I call you, no matter what time of day, I will hear you say, can I talk to you later, son? Because I have my hustle skirt on right now. So with that being said, when I think of hustle skirt, it's all about positivity. Never give up. Hustle, 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 and hustle some more. Believe in yourself with confidence. Stay focused, be encouraged, be strong, be humble. And by all means, never stop working on becoming, being, and being the best you. And for God's sakes, be proper, be prosperous. If we're going to put the sweat equity to share our products and services to the clients that we are privileged to serve, get something out of it. It's about wealth and wealth for the next generation. So with that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce today on the Hustle Skirt Podcast, Dr. Robert E. Douglas, Ph.D., leadership speaker and consultant. Robert E. Douglas, Ph.D., is a retired engineering manager with over 40 years of corporate experience. He has a BS, MBA, MPA, and PhD degrees. He has 28 years of military service, retired LTC, after serving a tour of active duty in Iraqi Freedom. Thank you, Dr. Douglas, for your service. He has been very active in literacy, dialogue on race, Toastmasters, R Rotary. Is that Baton Rouge Rotary, Mr.?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Baton Rouge.
and 100 Black men.
Mm.
Robert combines his military experience with his corporate expertise to engage audiences with inspiring and informative messages in the areas of leadership, organizational behavior, motivation, and personal success. So for a moment, Dr. Douglas, I'm going to get all in your business, but I do
Yeah.
want you to share this contact information. If you would like to reach Dr. Douglas, the leadership speaker and consultant, area code 225-202-6309. His website, DrDouglassSpeaks.com. DrDouglassSpeaks.com. I will let him say it just in case I kind of messed it up. So you'll have opportunity, Robert, to share that. But let me say hello to you, Robert. I hope you're just as excited as I am to have this interview today.
Yes, I am very excited, Deborah. Thank you for having me here today.
Well, thank you. You're one of the first that when I sent the information out, your response was on time. And so I'd say, yay, I get to interview Dr. Robert Douglas today. So with that being said, all of my guests that I've had been blessed with to have on the Hustle Skirt podcast know there's always question coming up. So we're going to kick this off, Robert.
Okay.
So my first question to you, what qualities do you think every entrepreneur should possess?
Yeah, very good question. So I think every entrepreneur, Deborah, whether you're selling lemonade on the sidewalk or whether you're in the C-suite trying to promote a certain idea, the three things that I would share is that we need to have a good attitude, we need to have a good belief, and we need to be committed. And let me kind of break that down a little bit. First, the attitude. Attitudes will get us indoors that academia strength will not. Our attitude is so important to us that even on our bad days, we must hustle and put in the effort to have a good attitude, because so often that's our biggest marketing skill. That's what people see about us, how we speak to them, how we act. Do we have a big growl on our face that run people away? Or do we have a pleasant smile that maybe welcomes people to us, that they want to say, hey, how you doing? This happens so often on the elevators. When people get on elevators and everybody's checking everybody out, your demeanor, your attitude will speak volumes as far as drawing other people to you. The same thing in doing a presentation. If you're going to do a presentation and you're grumpy and you're all out of sorts, it's going to turn the people off that you're talking to, and they're going to ask that question, well, why should I follow this guy? Man, he has a bad attitude. And let me just share a quick snippet of what I consider a good attitude. There was a true story of a guy interviewing this young man in Disney World. And this young man had a job poop and scoop. In other words, he was running behind the electric light parade at Disney World, scooping up behind all the animals. But the young man had such a good attitude. So the guy had to stop and ask him, he said, hey, man, with this nasty job you have, why do you have such a good attitude? And he turned to the gentleman and said, because I know if I do a good job here for the next 2 weeks, I'll be doing something else. That same young man worked his way up to the Disneyland executive suite. So there was a good attitude. So even if you have a nasty job, even if you are the guy doing the French fries at McDonald's in the back, do it well, because there are other things waiting on you just based on your attitude. Now, along with that good attitude, you must believe in yourself. And here's why. We live in a cruel world. Not meaning so, but there are so many negative things about us from the time we wake up, turn on the lights, listen to the news, to the time we go to bed at night. So in order to maneuver through this world and get to where you want to be, you have to believe in yourself. There's going to be people who are going to doubt you. There's going to be people who say, oh, you can't do it. There's going to be people who don't like you. All those things are to come. But here's what you have to remember in having a good belief in yourself. In every problem, there's an opportunity. Yet in every opportunity, there's a problem. Now, your belief can help you maneuver through that problem to get to that opportunity. And it's like an everyday thing. Now, I run into a lot of young entrepreneurs say, well, you know what? I don't want to start at the bottom. It doesn't matter where you start, it's where you want to be. So here's an example I use with a lot of young entrepreneurs. If your deal, let's look at a house. You got a living room, bedroom, some dining rooms. If your goal is to get to the living room, but the front door is closed, the side doors are locked, but the bathroom window is halfway cracked, crawl through that bathroom window, because if you're inside that house, it's much easier to get to the living room than it is trying to transcend those locked doors outside. And so many people don't understand this. It's like they want to start at a certain level. Whatever level you're given, shine there. Do that with the belief in yourself that you're going to get there. But you got to believe in yourself. Look, it's going to be some bad days. There's going to be some days when you want to throw it in. Don't do that. Go home, dust yourself off, and come back again. There are countless and countless of examples of people who went through so many things but still believed in themselves. President Lincoln, he lost like 25 elections, but he became president. Thomas Edison, he kept trying to invent that incandescent light 491 times, but he finally found it. So
give me that one more, that commitment. Give me one more.
Right. The one more is commitment. And here's commitment. Commitment is doing things when you don't want to do them. Here's the thing about commitment. Commitment doesn't take vacation. Commitment doesn't call in sick. Commitment says each and every day that I get up, I'm going out there and I'm going to give my best. You know, there's an example of a breakfast where you have the eggs and the bacon. The chicken was involved, but the pig was committed. He's laying there before you. And so often in our life, we have to lay ourselves out, give our all, even when we're tired. Lay down and take a breath, but get back up and get back in there to be sure you're doing. So there you have it, with a good attitude, with belief in yourself, and being committed to whatever cause, whatever product, whatever job you have, you will be successful.
Woo, give me a high five on that one, Robert. All right. I was on time. Good attitude, good belief, and commitment. Oh, yes. You have just blessed this audience on the Hustle Skirt podcast. Let's keep it going. Oh, Robert, okay. I love the energy. High energy. Bring it, yes. Bring it on, Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
So my next one, does your business give back to the community?
Yes, I believe strongly in the community. My business, I do a lot of presentations. I do a lot of seminars. I also work with some groups like Dialogue on Race and 100 Black Men. I have given several free seminars just to get people in and just to go to the different places and schools I've gone and colleges I've gone. And I've gone to a lot of community centers. You know, a lot of our young men, Black, white, Latino, all our young men are in a stressed environment. And sometimes it's just having someone to come along and push them a little bit and give them a little belief or motivational time to let them know. And you know what the biggest thing is when I share is I take time to just stop and listen to them. I do a lot of talking.
You just identified a target. Let's pause for a moment and share your contact information so others can be blessed by your message.
Okay, thank you, Deborah. My contact information, you can reach me by phone at 225-202-6309. Or you can contact my website and you can see some of my work on this website. And that website is drdouglasspeaks.com. That's DRDOUGLASSPEAKS.com. drdouglasspeaks.com. Would love to have you come by my site and see some of my work.
Thank you for fixing that for me, because I wasn't certain whether I said two S's, okay, behind Douglas Speaks. All right.
One S on Douglas. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Let's keep it going. Ooh, ooh,
yes, ma'am.
Ooh. All right. So one more question, Robert, before I
Yes.
bid you goodbye today.
Okay.
What makes a good leader?
Yeah, very good question. So here's my take on being a good leader. And I call it, Deborah, the 3 I's. And those 3 I's are intelligence, integrity, and inspiration. Now, let me break that down a little bit. When I say intelligence, I don't mean you have to have a PhD degree, and I don't mean you have to graduate from Harvard. I'm saying whatever sector you're in, whatever you're doing, gather the intelligence. Know what the process is. So many times we see people take off without full information. So when I speak of intelligence, I'm speaking of getting all the information, getting the knowledge. You know, if you want to be something, you need to go out there and see how many people in this field. Who are the people who are doing good? Who are the people I can look to? Who can I read about to learn how to be a better leadership person? That's where the intelligence comes in. Gather that intelligence to make you prepared to go out there and learn. Now, after the intelligence, the next thing is integrity. You can only be yourself. I can only be Robert Douglas. Why? Because everyone else is taken. Now, in my integrity, I need to treat everyone right, regardless of where they are on the economic level. Integrity is so important. And this is where we get off a little bit. When we get in a position where we're leading people, we have to treat everybody the same. And another important piece of integrity, shoot straight with people. If a person is making a mistake, don't code over it, not want to constructively tell them, because if you don't, they'll keep doing the same thing. So if you love and care about your people, tell them the things that they need to do to improve in a kind way in order that they can become better, because they're depending on you as that leader to guide them. And finally, inspiration. So often we find ourselves, particularly in leadership positions, where you have to inspire people. You know, people come from a home sometime it's bad, they have a lot of problems, they have a traffic jam on the way, and they come into work and they need to be inspired. They need to see someone who can get with them and get them to understand the good sides and to make them want to be where they are. Half of leadership is just inspiring others by our character, by the way we carry ourselves, such that even if I've had a bad day, I want to follow this person. I want to be like him. I want to do what he wants to do. So again, to wrap it up, you need to have, in order to be a good leader, I think you need to have intelligence, that is to know about your area as good or better than anyone else. And then the second thing is to have integrity, to be sure everyone is treated right and you lead in a moral way. And lastly, inspiration, to inspire those people with you to want to follow you no matter where you go. They will be willing to go into hell for a heavenly cause if you are in fact their leader. Thank you, Dr.
I love the 3 I's: intelligence, integrity, and inspiration.
Yes, ma'am.
Bring it, Robert. Bring it, Dr. Douglas. So before we wrap up this interview today, if I would ask you, because you know the show is about, even though I call it the Hustle Skirt Podcast,
Right.
it is really centered around my theme, economic equity for everyone, every day. So if I asked you to give me one single word to describe equity, what that word might be?
If I had to come down to one word, Deborah, I would say awareness. And the reason I say awareness is, in order to find equity or understand it, you need to be aware of what's going out there. Now, here's what awareness would promote. If you are aware, you're going to go out there and network. You're going to go out there and talk to other people. And that's how we find out where things are. You know, it's one thing to sit on the side of the road and complain. It's another thing to get out there in the road and see where the traffic is going and follow that traffic to get to the destination that you want to get to. So I think awareness is so important. And there's all kind of awareness around us, particularly with the internet, particularly with all the stuff that we have in AI. You can just sit there at your phone and just start Googling stuff, first of all, to find out, hey, where are some possibilities of equity? Or where are some things that I could look into? Where are some EEOC stuff? Where is some governmental jobs or opportunities? So awareness to me is the key, not sitting waiting, but going out there finding it.
Absolutely. Well, Robert, you know, I've enjoyed.
I have too, Deborah. Thank you.
Learned so much from you, from the questions that I've asked. My takeaway was the 3 I's: intelligence, integrity, as well as inspiration. And you have
Yes, ma'am.
certainly been an inspiration on this interview today. But before we close out the show,
Mhm.
would you take a moment just to share your contact information one
Yes.
more time?
Sure. Thank you, Deborah. My contact information by phone, you can reach me at 225-202-6309. And please visit my website at drdouglasspeaks.com. That's DrDouglasspeaks.com. drdouglasspeaks.com. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Oh, thank you. This was a great interview, Robert. Now, before I close out, I just want to remind folks, if you truly have enjoyed this interview, I want you to visit the website, www.persistencelane.com. That's all one word, persistencelane.com. And when you get there, would you please, it will be my excitement and privilege to have you subscribe to the Hustle Skirt podcast. There will be 9 different platforms when you visit www.persistentlane.com to find out about the interview with Dr. Robert Douglas today. There will be 9 different platforms, just to name a few: Amazon FM, iHeartRadio, and iTunes is the one that I want to invite you to click on and give us a rating today, because I think he did an excellent job as my guest today on the Hustle Skirt. So please go to my Hustle Skirt podcast and give us a rating. Tell a friend, a neighbor, others in your community, your network about the interview today with Dr. Robert Douglas. And as I close out today, just know that, Robert, it is always an honor and privilege to be in the same space with you today.
Thank you, Deborah.
I appreciate the value of your time today. So to my guests, you are listening to the Hustle Skirt podcast, the show that brings you economic equity for everyone, every day, with your host, Debra Gould. Until we meet again, have a super fantastic day, Robert.
Thank you, Deborah.
All right, take care. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.